Alright, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Plastic Memories, Episode 8.
Okay.
Alright, yeah.
So, they have discussed things openly with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Very good. And now...
They went on a date.
They went on a date.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. There was a little bit of doing that had to happen to get to that point. But they got there.
Mm-hmm.
They got there. And now they still have 5 episodes left, you know? Even though Tsukasa wasted a whole bunch of time trying to work up the courage to ask her, I knew she had limited time left. But here we are.
Here we are.
Yep.
Yeah. They're incorporating a lot of the other characters, I would say, in a little bit more of a way that I appreciate right now. So I am liking the progression of the way this is going. And then they're focusing a lot more on Ira and Tsukasa in one-on-one settings.
Yes.
More.
Mm-hmm.
So more of that, please.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, and then come back here for the discussion. All right, I am so glad that end credit scene happened, that end OP scene happened, and because okay, I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that I think the show would be severely underselling the opportunity to amp up the drama by making it about the, well, we love each other and the time that we have left we'll spend it together. But the fact that she panics and says that she can't do this, which isn't a I don't love you.
Right.
It's a I can't handle this right now.
Yep.
I'm about to be like
I'm about to die.
I'm about to die. Like that makes perfect sense.
And okay, so
much better.
So here's the thing. There are so many times in romantic comedies where it's like, sorry, we have to wait till the last episode. Mm-hmm. So anytime something like that comes up, we're gonna backtrack because we can't quite get there. Now, in most stories, I would say that happens usually because I'm thinking of like shows that are more than one cour, you know? Yeah. It makes it feel dragged out. Right? Because it's like, okay, come on, you know, there's enough foundation chemistry for you guys to like each other, and you guys are finally, you work up the courage, so just let it happen, right? In this situation,
my heart to be happy. Damn it.
If anything, it felt a little bit too soon. Now I'm not sure if that's because of my own meta like perspective on the fact that it's episode 8 of a one-cour show.
I think it has nothing to do with the meta narrative. But I think you can pull out a lot that Tsukasa is not doing this out of the right reasons.
Right, exactly.
That is
he is what he is doing it because let me just spitball here. He's doing it because he wants to make Ira feel better. Right? And because like there's this feeling of obligation in what he has to do or should do, because maybe he's her partner. Not necessarily what he wants to do. And the fact that he wasn't really paying much attention to her at the carnival shows that. Yeah. Especially like in any situation, right, of whether or not you actually like the person, right? You tend to be aware of where they're at, right?
Right.
If it's something where they are chronically ill and are going to die in a few weeks, even more so, right? You don't just lose track of them. That doesn't happen. Maybe in extreme circumstances, but you would become aware of it very quickly.
Right.
So that makes a lot of sense that or it makes me glad that this happened from the standpoint of Ira not being able to accept it. The other way that I'm really glad is that it's something where, think about the situation that Ira is in right here, right? Because one of the things that would have been very easy for them to do is to have that be accepted. And then granted, there would have been a lot of cool things that they could have done with that. Yeah. They could have had them, you know, have a bunch of cutesy fun times, lovey-dovey times, and then she dies and, you know.
Yeah, and maybe have the drama of just the approaching doom because and you know, they're already so close, you know?
Right. And while there is that aspect that kind of stuff, post-confession stuff, rarely is shown in romantic comedy anime, granted, but the thing is that this feels so much more natural for Ira because she's not even really I feel like she's not even really thinking or feeling about whether she likes Tsukasa or not.
Of course not.
She's a little bit preoccupied with the fact that she's going to die, right? And then it's, what is that effect that will have on other people, right? And I don't want to have that effect on other people. I don't want to hurt people, all that stuff, right? And that conversation that they had of, I don't want to hurt you, and if I'm going to hurt you, let me know. And
I don't want to be your partner then.
Right, exactly.
And then he admits, yeah, it hurts.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have it any other way, right? That was fantastic. That was a great way to, if the confession had been made without that, I wouldn't have probably been able.
Well, that was something that was going to happen, though.
Right.
Like, if anything, I just didn't think the confession would happen at this point.
Right. Yes.
I thought that this was a point where he would acknowledge that the approaching loss of her memories is something that scares him, but he wants to be by her side.
Right.
All the way up until that.
Yeah.
He doesn't necessarily have to confess deep-seated feelings of love.
Yep.
Because, and this is something that I often wonder a little bit about. I think that there are some times where guys, maybe this isn't a guy thing. I think this is just people when they're confessing their love for someone, is that oftentimes there will feel like there's a perfect moment in the environment that is necessitating a confession.
Rather than a perfect moment internally.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's not that you need a perfect moment internally or externally in order to confess your love. You can do it whenever.
Yep.
But I feel like there are moments where people feel pressured into doing something sooner because it will mean something more than what it actually does.
Doubly so when someone, in the case of Ira, has limited time left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard for Ira probably to separate the
"do you see me just as a person that's going to die" kind of a thing. Yep. That's the reason why in
she's still happy that he did this.
Right. Exactly.
Like that's the panicking. I'm just like,
and that was wonderful and adorable, but also was great for showing who she is as a character and everything. But it's these kinds of things where, in another show that I won't mention the name of for sake of spoilers, even though it's not much of a spoiler, if you
I know exactly what show you're talking about.
If you had someone who was dying, right, and there was chemistry between two characters, and they didn't want to say that they were dying for a very long time, it would probably be because of reasons like, say, this, where then they're not sure whether you're seeing the illness or whether you're seeing me.
Yep.
And in this situation, because it's so out there, you can't really avoid that, right?
She can't.
Yeah.
So it colors every single engagement they have together.
Yep.
Because she can't get it out of her head.
Right.
So she does things like taking care of the plants, doing all these little things that I would say isolate herself so she doesn't have to see all these people that she's going to forget.
Right. And in this situation, that actually presents plenty of opportunity for them to actually be able to fall in love, or for Tsukasa to demonstrate love to her, because it's being there for her in these trying times, right? And it doesn't have to be something where it needs to end in some sort of romantic confession.
Interesting.
Right? But she is going through hell right now, right?
Yeah.
So, because otherwise, like if you just think about it in general, the idea that you fall in love with someone in 2 months, like seriously, that happens. That definitely happens.
That totally happens.
That totally happens.
Some people fall in love in a week,
Oh yeah.
There's no rules with regards to how, falling in love.
Oh, definitely. And they're young, so yeah. It'll definitely be faster and harder. But
that's true.
Oh
boy, I'm not even that old, but right.
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I talking about? Caleb, come on.
But in this situation, being able to have those moments where Tsukasa's just being there for her when she needs someone to, shoulder to cry on, someone to tell her that it's going to be all right, that it's not going to ruin the lives completely of everyone else around her just because they know her, and then she's not going to be there anymore,
Now, I want to also bring up something that I don't think this show is going to go into, but if it somehow even lightly touched upon it, my opinions of the show will skyrocket. Not that my opinions of the show are in a really low place, but with regards to this area, this is something that if the show tackled this, holy crap, I would be blown away. I don't think Tsukasa really loves her as much as he thinks. Now, I'm going to go into this a little bit here. When I've seen this a lot. There are times when someone will see another person in a state of emotional vulnerability, and it seems like they need someone to be close by them, someone to be there for them.
Right.
And I think in the most well-intentioned means, there are times where people who mean well,
right,
desire to help that person because they have empathy, because they have compassion,
absolutely,
which are tenets of love. They're good aspects of love, but then in their compassion and empathy desire to help the person, they end up just spending a lot of time with them.
Sure.
And the person gives feedback in a way that makes it feel like, oh, I am very helpful. And so they more just love being around them and being a good person to them than they actually love them. Now, if this show goes into that, like this would be really heavy shit, in my opinion. Like,
totally.
But, like, imagine we have Ira gone, either rebooted into with a new OS or something like that.
Oh, after, not before.
I'm talking after, yeah.
Oh man,
where Tsukasa realizes, I'm gonna miss her. Now, I don't know how they could have him process this, but maybe another character like Michiru kind of comes up and goes, you know, I really saw like the best in you when you were helping Ira. And says, did you love her? And he's like, yeah, I think I did. But he could have a moment where he's not certain. Even if he's just the slightest bit not certain of whether it was a thing of whether he was actually there for her rather than there because he loved her.
Right.
Because of how fast these kinds of things happen, it's totally realistic that he would develop an attraction and fall for her in a very quick amount of time. Because he's a kid.
Yep.
He's really young. Yep. I mean, they're like high school graduates, you know, what have you. But point being, pretty young.
Yep.
I didn't see in the early parts of the show too many moments where he seemed to be that maybe into her.
Right.
So I'm treading on very interesting ground here, I know.
Yeah. Well,
but I wanted to put that out there because I think there's a possibility that it's handled at least slightly either before or after, and either one I would be there for that.
I feel like they kind of, in some subtle ways, they don't have to have it mean this, but I feel like if they wanted to, they could.
Is this because it's a worry of Ira's already?
Kind of.
Okay.
So
go for
what they did, there were a few things that they did this episode, and I feel like this is a pattern for the show, where they'll do these things. They'll introduce this sort of episodic story that they're telling, and it almost seems not very relevant. Sometimes it's the relevancy is a lot more apparent, right? But in this one, it's like, okay, they're introducing a new character, you know, whatever. Okay, how does this tie in?
Eru comes in and is a whirlwind.
Yeah, are they just going?
There's something there,
right? Like because at first I'm thinking, oh, they're going for the jealousy angle, right? Of, you know, this well-endowed lady comes in and right. No, but not that they were just doing that. And then, but what if at the part where Ira talks about how she's like, no, I'd be fine on my own, right?
Right.
And now there's a part of that is definitely hitting the jealousy angle, right? Of she doesn't want to seem like she's incompetent or less than, especially in front of this other person that she's jealous of, right? However, what if it was also about specifically how Tsukasa sees her? Yep, and that Tsukasa sees her as constantly needing someone to be dependent on. Now, maybe they don't have to go into this. One of my personal favorite shows that kind of went into this, not in this exact way, but was Toradora, with the idea of that there needs to be that differentiation of relying on someone mutually versus it being something where you're dependent on the person. Yeah. And in this situation, it seems like Ira was acknowledging, even if granted in extenuating circumstances and maybe not from the perspective of their relationship, right?
Sure.
That she was dependent on him, and or that he was assuming that she was dependent on him.
Oh,
and that's not something that she wanted.
No, she doesn't want that. No,
right.
That's
because,
what...
yeah. And anytime
made her pull away from Kazuki.
Oh, sure. And in those sorts of situations, when you have someone that's dependent on someone else, there's also the idea of how much do they need the person and how much does the person need them to be dependent on them. Right? Now, they don't necessarily have to do this because they haven't gone too much into Tsukasa's like backstory and whatnot.
Right.
But this, if they wanted to, they could definitely start there.
Yeah.
They don't have to. They could keep it focused on from the perspective of from Aira, and there's still plenty to go into from there. Right? Yeah. But it's something that I've noticed here, and they definitely masked it with a lot of comedy, right? You know, with her pout face and, you know, and the jealousy and all that stuff. But that could be something that they could have to tackle. And
I think you're right.
And the fact that that she rejected his confession feels like it might be something that plays a part, where the relationship and where they're at right now is not something where she can fully accept that this is the way things are, maybe because of her impending death, but then also just because that confession, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Right. And it would be great, like if she could think about it with a clear head and think that it was just good and that's all it was, then it'd be fantastic, right? And of course, right, you know, like we saw her blushing up a storm, right? But there's this doubt.
Yeah.
There's this doubt. And so I love it because that's something where they have to get at the cores of who they are.
Right, but this characterizes Aira way more than Tsukasa.
Yes.
So one of the things that I'm hoping for is that it doesn't just characterize her, and it does characterize Tsukasa, because I think that maybe what I'm sensing a little bit here is I'm realizing that he kind of plays the straight man to the premise of the show, which Aira is the encapsulation of the show entirely. Yep. So Tsukasa isn't really important to develop,
but he is.
Well, I meant specifically with regards to his with his inner feelings and or any kind of flaws.
Right. We can start with a more of a blank slate and then show him grow over the course of the show, rather than start with some particular strong like spin that he's bringing into the story.
Well, right, but I was gonna say that the main thing that I would say that's wonderful about Aira here is that it's very easy to tell where her character tends towards and where she avoids, like whether the things that she kind of gravitates towards, where her orbit just ends up kind of going based on the things that she's attracted to and the things that she doesn't find interesting. You know, her error did not catch that. Know, those kinds of moments. With Tsukasa, though, I think we either need to look a lot closer, or it's more that he has things that he wants, but there's, until this episode, we haven't had that moment where he's had this is something I will, like, this is a flaw of mine. This is something that is I cannot go this way. And the idea that his thing has been that he's wanting to avoid the inevitable. Like, he's wanting to deny the reality of the situation. That leads, I would say, towards the most impactful drama for this pair when Aira passes. But I want even a little bit more characterization potentially for what instigated the confession, and maybe it's just obvious, but I would love for them to get into that. And I think that you're right in that it's probably going to be played out in the fears that Aira has, the insecurities that Aira has, and then once she reveals those to Tsukasa,
then they can talk about it.
And have a little bit of a vulnerable moment on both sides of things there. Because I think his vulnerability wasn't something that she rejected. It was something that basically revealed that he was willing to accept something that she wasn't.
Right.
And once she realized that, she's like, I can't meet you there. So I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I've already gone through the equivalent of this once before. And it's shaped a lot of the ways that I am right now.
Right.
And she's probably not thinking so, like, mechanically about this. But it is very much a, nope, this doesn't feel right. Nope, I don't like this. I can't do it. But, I feel like this is something that I should have seen coming because it's the perfect response.
Yeah,
to
it really
everything
is.
that led up in this episode.
Oh man!
And then they played us like a fiddle with hitting all the tropes and doing all the little things to then once she actually gets confessed to, I mean, that's actually another thing is the fact that they actually chose to have the OP cut off at that point. And then actually even have the, oh my gosh, he finally said it.
Yeah, that was.
And then the, I can't do this, you know?
Yeah.
And then play it off as comment. And then Arrow just like, why not? You know, like, that's the question that leads into the next episode, right?
Right.
But there are probably a small percentage of people that stopped watching the episode.
Oh my god, yes, that's right.
Like, you think about that?
Okay,
like,
hopefully.
It just feels like they were very aware of the tropes that they were setting up, so then once they just chose in some ways a better character option here, there are probably a small percentage of people that came into the next episode and then they saw this scene, they're like, wait, what? You know?
Hopefully they had been like, you know, people watching the show would have been trained by the previous post-credit scenes.
Yes.
To, you know, watch after the credits. But yeah, I could totally see that because again, Toradora, there is a particular post-credit scene.
Yes, there is.
That didn't have the same amount of precedent for it, but is very important. And if it's missed,
oh my gosh,
you'll be really pissed.
Yeah. That is true.
So, yeah.
Although it's longer too.
That's true. And they do kind of tie into it.
Right. This one's about 10 to 15 seconds. That one's about like
but
a few minutes or 2 minutes or something.
Oh man. Yeah.
So,
I'm really excited to see how this goes because
me too.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Eru came around.
Yes.
And they ended up doing her character justice with Olivia / Andy.
Yeah.
That was a really good way to, in some ways, divert the story back onto something a lot more serious and emotionally grounded.
I will say, one of the things that when I was thinking about it afterwards, I kind of appreciated is that, because this show definitely placed all the tropes, right?
Yeah, all the characters are just walking
tropes, right?
Yeah. And that's fine.
But they throw their own spin on them, right? Most of the time.
And that's not a bad thing to have a character that is one-dimensional.
Yep, totally. But in the case of so with the whole thing of Eru running up and like, you know, fondling her breasts and everything, right? And that plays to the trope of the that happening and it not being something that the other person is okay with, right? Now, the way they got around that in a nice way is that she doesn't
around that.
While still, you know, going to the trope and whatnot, is that, she's had her memory wiped. This is a different person.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to basically be able to backpedal out of the silliness and sort of the suspension of disbelief that's needed for that into a serious moment, because then it's, okay, I'm just gonna go now.
I'm gonna go
1,000-yard stare
against the wall for about an hour.
Maybe sob a little bit, you know, like because
not because my head hurts. You know?
Right, exactly. Because the whole idea of gift yes, right? Okay, awesome, cool. But the idea of that you wouldn't necessarily even know if you go out of touch with someone for a little bit, right? If you haven't seen them in a while, you wouldn't know if they've been wiped or not. So, yeah, you see them again, and you assume that it's still them.
Well, wouldn't you know the minute you met them and got close when their due date was? So if anything, I feel like I feel like
there's
she
a little
kind
bit
of forgot because she got excited all of a sudden because she just looks exactly the same. You know?
Yeah. And maybe there's a little bit of suspension of disbelief we need to have for that. Whatever. Yeah. But it was still an effective, like way to do the thing, right? Mm-hmm. And then immediately shift gears.
I just particularly really loved the foreshadowed bit of I'm not going to come to the carnival again because I don't want to mix memories up. I'm like, man. Ha! Tsukasa's going to go back to that carnival every single, he's going to go back to that carnival constantly.
And this is also...
Not this carnival, but the amusement park.
And this is also setting the stage, or setting a precedent for potentially how the show's going to end and have a happy ending, because the memories don't come back, but Ira could get, a new OS, right? And then he meets her again, and then it's, okay, now you get to start again, and now you've got the full 9 years or whatever, right? Because that's the...
That's true. Still gonna lose her, though.
Yep, still gonna lose her. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think my only other thing that I really appreciated was kind of as a fun little thing was just the idea that there are these little moments where you could tell that Eru was trying to make the most of this. And she was trying to live in the present moment. And then she tells Tsukasa that all we have is the present moment.
Yep.
And it's a bit meta, but it's kind of like us as the audience, who are probably all at this point supposed to be thinking exactly that. Eru reminds him, because for her, it doesn't really... The past... Okay, this is a bit... This is a bit of a mixed bag thing of things to bring up here. The past happened, but you can't interact with the past.
Very true.
You can't live in the past. You can pretend to live in the past.
Yeah, but you can't actually.
That's the point, though. That's the point. A lot of people live in the past, but all they're actually doing is they're basically just focusing on the past. They're not actually living there.
Right.
They're
because fundamentally you can't. Yeah.
Well, fundamentally you can't, but when you think about what memories are, memories are not static. Memories change with your feelings.
Oh, yeah.
Memories get lost.
Memories are so fluid.
Memories are such lies sometimes. Also, depending on how you...
whatever your emotional state was at the point.
So, the idea that she specifically doesn't want to mix the memories up is her saying, I acknowledge that the memories of Olivia could be so mixed up and get all twisted with the Andy stuff that she's like, I'm literally never going to go back to that physical location, especially maybe with her.
Right.
And that is the most present way to look at this, in that the past happened. It matters. It definitely matters. It has an effect on the present, but I can't live there. I can't interact with that anymore.
I love what Eru said of that's not fair to either of them. Right? Because it's not. Yeah. It's really not.
It was this brilliant moment of just wisdom to come from the most Genki, ridiculous kind of.
And I am definitely a fan of the overly positive one that then has the spouts of wisdom.
Yeah.
But I'll leave it at that. But I'm usually not a fan of the trope they did at the beginning of the episode.
Right.
But Yeah. So this was fantastic.
This was
they surprised me episode, here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that second half though.
Yeah. Yep.
So y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access. You can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general, and you can also talk with Jacob about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
Yes, I wrote a sci-fi novel, and it's really cool. It's called Battle Lines. It's all about family and action and awesome stuff. And it's available for purchase on Amazon. Link in the description down below. It's in both hardback and ebook. So go check it out.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.